people come onto a set, and the first thing anybody says is, why are you all standing around doing nothing? Then they hang around for a couple of hours or a couple of days, and they say, wow, I never knew movie making was that hard.
Renowned film director Sidney Lumet today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson. Sidney Lumet was born in 1924 into a show business family. His father was an actor, producer, director. His mother was a dancer. Little Sidney made his acting debut at an age when most kids are heading off to kindergarten. By age 11, he was on Broadway. But by his 20s, Sidney Lumet came to realize what his real talent was: directing. Now, after several successful years in the early days of television, Sidney Lumet made his first feature-length motion picture in 1957, a little production you may have heard of called 12 Angry Men. In the years that followed, Lumet made a name for himself in Hollywood with pictures like Dog Day Afternoon, Network, Murder on the Orient Express, not to mention a few films like Failsafe and Serpico and The Wiz. Well, along the way, though, during those decades that he was making those films, Lumet realized that a lot of people had no idea how he made movies, how anybody made movies. So in 1995, he wrote a book called Making Movies. It was his chance to kind of pull back the curtain and show all of us, exactly what goes into the making of a major motion picture. I had a chance to meet him one day that spring as he was on a book tour. In just a moment, our conversation.
Come back with us now as we relive a little piece of our cultural history on Now I've Heard Everything. This interview is from Bill Thompson's 30-year archive. Enjoy.
So here now, from 1995, Sidney Lumet.
You know, one of the odd things that happens, people come onto a set, and they see us on location. And the first thing anybody says is, why are you all standing around doing nothing? Then the next thing that happens is if they hang around for a couple of hours or a couple of days, and they say, wow, I never knew movie making was that hard. And I just wanted to give people, and students, by the way, who also don't know about movies, what it's like to literally go through the whole process from the day a director says, okay, I want to do this movie, until the studio finally releases it.
Well, those credits roll by so fast at the end. We don't even know what a tenth of those people actually do until we read a book like this.
I know, but you'll find out from the book. And the extraordinary thing is that in most cases, all of them are necessary.
I always wondered, until you'd had the story in here about the Murder on the Orient Express, I always wondered what a focus puller is. I've seen that in the credits 1,000 times, and I figured, what does a focus puller do? And you explained it so well.
He pulls focus. In other words, he just keeps whatever the prime object of the shot is in focus. When the person is moving, the thing is moving, as in the case of Murder in the Orient Express, the train is moving, or the camera is moving.
Now, in that particular story that you told in here, on the screen it's an elegant piece of film. It's a very pleasing scene, but you have no idea. I had no idea until I read your story of it in this book, how complicated it was and how few chances you had to do it.
No chance. No. We had one chance to do it. And that's always a very exciting part of movie making, that kind of pressure, but it's also a terrifying part of movie making, because if you don't get it, you are talking hundreds of thousands of dollars just on the one shot.
But see, the public perceives that, well, all right, a couple $100,000, all right, we'll come back tomorrow, we'll spend another $500,000 and get it right.
I couldn't even do that in this instance, because in Murder on the Orient Express, I had sort of an all-star cast, and an awful lot of them were appearing in the theater in London. The shot had to be done in a railway shed in Paris. This is the shot of the train leaving supposedly the Istanbul station. And so they had to be back in London the next day to resume their theater performances. So there was no chance that we were ever going to be able to postpone until the next night.
I couldn't help thinking, if one thing went wrong, if the focus puller didn't get it just right, if the dolly didn't work quite right, if some actor tripped and fell and split his head open on the rail or something like that, anything goes wrong, that's it.
It's over. And here, We shot it on a crane. For those of your listeners who don't know what a movie crane consists of, it's a very complicated piece of equipment. It's driven on wheels. It's got a center post that's hydraulic, and off that center post there's this enormous cantilevered arm, counterweighted arm, and the camera goes on that. The camera goes on that. The camera operator, I go on that. The director of photography goes on that. It's tremendous weight. And here was a question of the camera moving in toward the train taking off, so the train is coming toward us. We're going against each other. We finally zero in off European, for the Orient Express fans, you may remember WL, Wagon Lit, on the side of the train. Beautiful symbol, gold on blue. We come in on that, and we turn around 180 degrees and watch the train going away from us. And they had to rehearse this without the train ever moving, because the train had to be lit, which is the most time-consuming part of movie making, could not go out of the railroad yard, and if the train ever went out of the railroad yard, it would take at least an hour to get it back, just the switching, a train backing up and switching in one of the main railway terminals in Paris. And as you know in the book, we have to get it before the first crack of dawn, because there's all of modern Paris behind this piece that was taking place in the 1930s.
It sure is a world. If one building was discernible in the movie, somebody would say, that looks like Paris in that movie.
Right.
'Cause there's always somebody who's going to spot. I was watching some movie the other night, and O.J. Simpson, coincidentally, was supposed to kick a door in, but I noticed he had to hold the door shut first so he could kick it in because it was starting to come open.
Oh, how funny.
But in a case like that, you've probably got many times to get it right. It's not like the one-shot deal of trying to get the train as it's pulling out of a station. If you're talking just an ordinary scene, somebody kicking in a door, unless it's an extremely expensive door, you could probably do that more than once.
And the logistics of this were so insane because the engine came from a place called Pontarlier in southern France. The cars of the Orient Express came from the Wagon Lit storage area in Brussels. The set was flown over from London. We built a set in London, put it up in Paris. I mean, the sheer logistical complication of ever having to repeat that shot would have been impossible, really.
But the list of things, chapter by chapter, as you go through the list of things, everything from the proper camera angle, the proper length of the lens, the proper lighting,
and you found it, Bill, full of information that you did not have before.
Oh, it was a most fascinating journey that you've taken me on in this book.
Good.
It was just a wonderful thing. It helps if you've seen these movies. I haven't seen all of them though, so I'm anxious to go to Blockbuster and rent the ones that I haven't seen yet. But just in general terms, to know the difference between the different length of lens, and to know what the right lighting can do, and to know what you might have to do to get an actor to cry.
Oh, no, dude, let's not talk about that. I'm so ashamed of myself for that. It happened once, and I will never do it again.
Well, I did hear Tippi Hedren told me that Alfred Hitchcock whispered some horrible things in her ear just before some scene in Marnie, so that to make her angry and furious for a particular scene. But you schmooze what you have to do to get the actors to do it, don't you?
Well, it depends. It depends, on your philosophy of it. I mean, for your audience, what happened in this instance? I was all full of myself. I had just done my first picture, which had gotten a whole bunch of awards, and I was feeling very important indeed. And on the second picture, the actress had to cry, and she couldn't make it. And I said to her, look, no matter what I do, just say the line. And we rolled the camera, and I hauled off and hit her. And the tears came, and she said the line. It was a wonderful take, and I said, cut, print. And I felt just awful. She, of course, was delighted. She was thrilled. She threw her arms around me, called me a genius, and I just couldn't stand myself. The self-loathing was complete, and I've never done anything like that again. I'd rather not get the shot than do that.
After this short break, Sidney Lumet tells us what happens when directors clash with big-name stars.
AI is not just for 22-year-old coders. A lot of us older adults are drawing on our life experience to find unique and creative ways to use AI, at home or at work. Got an AI success story you'd like to share? Tap the link below to visit our YouTube channel, AI After 40, and let's keep learning together.
Now back to my 1995 conversation with Sidney Lumet.
Are you the exception to the rule? Are you the director with a heart?
I think so, and I think there are a lot. By the way, there's no right or wrong about this. You know, a director like Otto Preminger, you were lucky if he used his hand. I mean, he might have used a mallet, but it just depends on your philosophy.
But I hear actors say that it is a pleasure to work with a director who will do what he or she has to do to get the shot. And if it means slapping, if it means kicking in the pants, if it means whispering something naughty in the ear.
I wonder about that. I think, that they, a great many of them, feel a tremendous sense of violation. I think it was probably built truer in the old studio days than it is now. A lot of the actors now have a tremendous sense of themselves and a sense of their own pride and so on. And I think you might run into a little resistance now.
Well, now you do address in one chapter the dollars and cents, and you refer to studios that their philosophy is let's hire hot actor A, and that's who we're going to have, and we'll build the vehicle around that. That kind of puts your job as a director, it changes the dynamics of the whole situation, doesn't it?
It does.
If you know that the studio not only is unwilling to bend to that actor or to that director, they're going to fire the director before they'll fire the actor.
Absolutely true, and it's an actor's market now. The reason for that is that the overseas grosses have become so important, probably over 50%, and for example, an actor like Sean Connery. A Japanese distributor will pay upfront $6 million for any picture that Sean Connery is in. So that's where the power comes, because we're talking about a lot of money.
Wow. Now, one chapter I didn't see, and maybe I missed it because I didn't get to read every single word of every single chapter, but in Forrest Gump, for example, we saw some incredible special effects.
Right.
What authority, what power, what influence do you have as a director over what kind of effects, how they're to be used, how they fit into the overall film?
Oh, I would pick them. You don't have a chapter on it in the book simply because the pictures discussed never had any special effects in them. But really, really, truly, the Wiz had some, but nothing as complex as what they've got today, because needless to say, the computer, as it has with the rest of our lives, has changed everything in movies. Computerized camera movements, which allow you to add one element after another, so you can be adding 8, 9, 10 different elements to a shot, and the camera movement will always be identical. That didn't exist really up until 6, 7 years ago. Wow.
But the incredible things that the new tools, because you address all the various aspects of what you do as the tools that you can use.
Right.
The palette, if you will, from which you paint this marvelous picture. And special effects is one more tool if you know how to use it.
Absolutely. And anything that gives you more choice is finally terrific.
But I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing that you would rather have a good, top-quality cast of really good veteran actors and actresses than the finest computers money could buy.
I think so. I think, the pictures that I pick to work on are for want of a better word, more human and need performance more than they do special effects.
Why is it so important to you that the films that you choose to direct say something to you and that involve you somehow?
Because the work, Bill, is so hard that that's one of the things that I'm pleased with in the book, that you really get a sense of the detailed labor that it takes to make a movie. And that work is so hard, both emotionally and physically, that, boy, you better care, because otherwise you're going to be expending a kind of energy inside and outside that isn't worth it.
Well, if you're going to devote months and months of your life to seeing something,
years easily,
exactly, and not only that, but have it tagged after your name as long as you live.
Exactly, and I mean, there was one day we'd been out on location for a long time. The weather had been getting colder and colder, and we were shooting 36 continual hours because I wanted to get an entire sequence done while the snow was still falling. And, the wheels of the Worrell head, which is the instrument that turns the camera in any direction, are, of course, iron. And I forgot, I had my gloves in my pocket and grabbed the wheels, and my hand stuck to them. It's tough work.
Well, you also have to be able to go with the flow and change things. You described one scene, forgive me, I forget which film it was, where the snow started to fall before the end of the day, before you could finish, and the snow wasn't there when you started.
Right. So, and we just had to reshoot everything in 2 hours and throw out 6 hours of previous work.
Does that? I've often wondered. Does that bother you to shoot?
It's wonderful. No, it's wonderful because you really, first of all, it requires you to be at the height of your technique because you have to really know how to economize on the shooting, how to save every available second. The light is going, as you know, in the wintertime. By 3:30, you haven't got enough light left. So there's that part of the excitement, and also you like to think of yourself as a craftsman who can take advantage.
Sidney Lumet died in 2011. He was 86. Now you can get your copy of Making Movies by Sidney Lumet by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're listening to this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. HeardEverything.com is where you can also find my 2003 conversation with another famous director, Peter Bogdanovich.
The chase was 12 minutes. We took 4 weeks to shoot it. Even when they jumped into, when the cars went into the bay at the end of that sequence, that was real. In fact, we didn't even cheat. We didn't even undercrank it. We didn't speed it up. We actually shot it. They were going 70 miles an hour. Yeah, that was quite something.
And my 1994 conversation with the great Robert Evans.
I made people cry, I made people laugh, I made people fall in love. I've evoked emotions that no one else could do. I'm an image maker and an emotion maker, and maybe I'm a little crazy, because to accomplish what I do, you can't do it normally.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us wherever you find podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, my conversation with a man who was stranded on a desert island after a shipwreck with 6 other people. They had a hard time surviving until he figured out how to make all sorts of things from coconuts and palm trees. My 1993 interview with the professor from Gilligan's Island, Russell Johnson.
You've got to accept the premise of this crazy situation. People asked Jim Backus and Natalie Schaefer, why did they take all those clothes? And he said, we had a big suitcase. Okay.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.